Listen. There's a version of you that nobody has met yet. Not your friends. Not your family. Not even the people who doubt you. Because that version of you doesn't talk too much. Doesn't argue. Doesn't try to prove anything. That version of you moves in silence. And wins in ways that leave people confused. In a world where everyone is loud. Where people feel the need to announce everything. Their goals, their moves, their opinions. There is a different kind of individual. The one who says less. But does more. The one who doesn't chase attention. But attracts respect. The one who doesn't explain. But executes. And today, you are stepping into that version of yourself. But before we go deeper, if you are ready to change your mindset, if you are ready to build discipline, if you are ready to become someone people cannot figure out, subscribe to this channel. Because this is not just a video. This is a transformation. Pause, music deepens. Silence. Silence is misunderstood. People think silence means weakness. They think if you're not speaking, you have nothing to say. But that's not true. Silence is control. It means you have something to say, but you choose not to. It means you are aware, but you don't react. It means you are powerful enough to hold back. Because not everything deserves your voice. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your response. When you begin to understand this, your life starts to change. Because you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. And you start focusing on what does. Most people talk too much. They reveal their plans before they begin. They seek validation before they build results. They explain themselves to people who don't even understand them. And in doing that, they lose their power. Because the more you speak, the more people can read you. The more they can predict you. The more they can doubt you. But when you are silent, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people are dangerous. Not dangerous in a negative way, but dangerous in a powerful way. Because nobody knows your next move. Nobody knows your plan. Nobody knows how far you're about to go. And that uncertainty creates an advantage. Silence gives you space. Space to think. Space to observe. Space to understand. And that brings us to something most people avoid. Thinking deeply. Not surface-level thinking. Not reacting. Not following. But truly thinking. Sitting with your thoughts. Facing your reality. Asking yourself the hard questions. Why am I where I am? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns? Why do I settle for less than I deserve? These are questions most people run from. Because thinking deeply is uncomfortable. It forces you to face truth. And truth doesn't always feel good. But it sets you free. When you start thinking deeply, you stop blaming others. You stop making excuses. You start seeing clearly. And clarity changes everything. Because once you see clearly, you can act correctly. While others are distracted, you are focused. While others are emotional, you are strategic. While others are loud, you are silent. And that combination is powerful. Because now, you don't just exist. You move with purpose. And when you move with purpose, you don't need to announce it. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to prove it. You just work. Quietly. Consistently. Relentlessly. Early mornings when nobody is watching. Late nights when everyone is sleeping. Moments where it feels like nothing is changing. But everything is building. This is where most people quit. Because they don't see results immediately. They want recognition. They want applause. They want validation. But you are different. You understand something they don't. You understand that real growth happens in silence. You understand that real success takes time. And you are willing to wait. You are willing to work. You are willing to stay disciplined. even when nobody is clapping. Because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. And when you finally reach a level they didn't expect, that's when the confusion begins. People will start asking questions. They will try to understand what you did. They will try to figure out how you changed. But they won't have answers. Because they weren't there when you were building. They didn't see the sacrifices. They didn't hear the silent battles. They didn't feel the pressure you overcame. All they see is the result. And results speak louder than words ever could. That's why you win quietly. No noise. No distractions. No unnecessary attention. Just results. Because when you win quietly, your success becomes undeniable. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. You don't need to convince anyone. Your life does the talking. And that kind of success confuses people. Because they are used to noise. They are used to people showing off. They are used to people pretending. But you're real. You move differently. You think differently. You operate on a level they don't understand. And that's your strength. So don't rush to speak. Don't rush to prove. Don't rush to show. Take your time. Stay silent. Think deeply. Build quietly. And when the time comes, win. Pause, music softens, then slowly rises again. If you're still here, it means something inside you is waking up. Something inside you is realizing that you were never meant to be average. You were never meant to follow noise. You were meant to move with purpose, with control, with discipline. So again, subscribe to this channel, because this journey is just beginning, and the version of you that wins quietly is waiting. There's something you need to understand. The moment you choose silence, the moment you choose to think differently, the moment you stop explaining yourself to the world, you will feel alone. Not because you are weak, but because you are evolving. Most people won't understand the new version of you. They were comfortable with the old you. The one who talked more. The one who reacted. The one who fit in. But now, you're changing. And change makes people uncomfortable. They will question you. They will misunderstand you. Some will even doubt you. But that's part of the process. Because growth is not loud. It's quiet. It happens internally, before it shows externally. And this is where discipline becomes everything. Because staying silent in a noisy world is not easy. Thinking deeply in a distracted world is not easy. Working quietly while others seek attention is not easy. But easy does not build strength. Struggle does. Consistency does. Discipline does. You have to train yourself to hold your tongue when you want to respond, to stay focused when distractions call you, to keep going when results are not visible. That's where most people fail. They start strong, but they don't stay consistent. They get emotional. They get impatient. They get distracted. And they quit. But you don't quit. You adjust. You learn. You continue. Because you understand something powerful. Every silent effort you make is building something. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are becoming stronger. Every time you think before you act, you are becoming wiser. And over time, those small, quiet decisions turn into massive results. Results that cannot be ignored. Results that speak for themselves. And when that happens, people will notice. Even if you say nothing, they will see the difference in you. Your mindset. Your energy. Your presence. Because when you master silence, you don't just change your actions. You change your aura. You walk differently. You carry yourself differently. You don't seek approval anymore. You don't chase validation. You don't feel the need to prove anything. Because you already know who you are becoming. And that confidence is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It simply exists. And people feel it. That's why silence is powerful. It forces others to observe you, to study you, to wonder about you. Because you are not easy to figure out. And in a world where everything is exposed, being private is rare. Being controlled is rare. Being disciplined is rare. And rare is valuable. So protect your silence. Protect your energy. Protect your focus. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone needs to know your plans. Not everyone needs to understand your journey. Some things are meant to stay private. Because the less people know, the less they can interfere. The less they can doubt. The less they can distract you. And that allows you to move freely. To build without pressure. To grow without noise. And when the results come, they come strong. They come undeniable. They come in a way that makes people stop and pay attention. But by then, you won't even care about their attention. Because you've already won. Not just externally, but internally. You've mastered yourself. And that is the real victory. Music softens slow pause. But let's go deeper. Because winning quietly is not just about success. It's about control. Control over your emotions. Control over your reactions. Control over your mind. Because if you can't control your mind, you can't control your life. And most people are controlled by everything around them. What people say. What people think. What happens to them. They react to everything. They allow external noise to dictate their internal state. But you don't react. You respond. There's a difference. Reaction is instant, emotional, uncontrolled. Response is calm, calculated, intentional. And that difference changes everything. When someone disrespects you, you don't lose control. You observe. You decide. You act with purpose. When something goes wrong, you don't panic. You think. You adjust. You move forward. Because you understand that your power lies in your control, not in your noise. And the more control you have, the more dangerous you become. Again, not dangerous in a negative way, but powerful in a way that cannot be easily stopped. Because people can't manipulate you. They can't provoke you. They can't distract you. You are focused, grounded, unshaken. And that level of control takes time to build. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice. It requires awareness. It requires discipline. Every single day. In small moments. In quiet decisions. In situations where nobody is watching. That's where you build it. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not when you feel like it, but when you don't. That's how you become different. That's how you rise above the noise. That's how you win. Quietly. Music builds slightly again, deeper tone returns. If you're still listening, you're already ahead of most people. Because most people would have clicked away. Most people don't have the patience to sit in silence and reflect. But you do. And that's why you're growing. That's why you're changing. That's why you're becoming someone who cannot be easily replaced. So stay on this path. Stay disciplined. Stay silent. Think deeply. And keep building. Because the best part is still coming. And when it arrives, it won't need an announcement. It will speak for itself. Pause, music fades slowly. And when that moment comes, they will look at you. And they won't understand. They will wonder. They will question. They will be confused. And you? You will simply smile. In silence. There will come a moment where everything inside you will want to speak. To explain. To defend. To prove them wrong. You'll feel it. That pressure rising in your chest. That voice in your head saying, "Say something, show them, let them know who you are." But this is the test. The test that separates those who stay average from those who become unstoppable. Because anyone can react. Anyone can speak. Anyone can try to prove a point. But not everyone can stay silent and let their actions do the talking. That requires strength. That requires control. That requires vision. Because when you truly understand where you're going, you don't waste time trying to convince people who were never meant to understand. You move. You build. You grow. And you let time reveal everything. Short pause, music pulses softly. Time is powerful. It exposes truth. It reveals effort. It separates those who talk from those who work. So instead of rushing to prove something today, you invest in becoming something tomorrow. And that changes your mindset. You stop chasing quick validation. You stop seeking immediate results. You start playing the long game. And the long game is where real winners live. Because while others are focused on being seen, you are focused on becoming. While others are trying to look successful, you are building success. Quietly, patiently, relentlessly. And that patience, that quiet consistency, is what creates separation. Days pass. Weeks pass. Months pass. And people think nothing is happening. They assume you're the same. They believe you're stuck. They underestimate you. But what they don't see is everything that's changing beneath the surface. Your mindset. Your habits. Your discipline. Your focus. All evolving. All improving. All aligning with the life you're building. And then, one day, it shows. Not slowly, but suddenly. Because success often looks invisible until it becomes undeniable. Music rises slightly, emotional tone. And that moment is powerful. Because it doesn't come with noise. It doesn't come with explanation. It doesn't come with warning. It just appears. And people are left asking, when did this happen? How did they do it? Why didn't I see it coming? But you remember the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the discipline, the silence. You remember choosing growth when it was easier to stay comfortable. You remember holding back when it was easier to react. You remember staying focused when everything around you tried to distract you. And that's why you deserve it. Not because you talked about it, but because you worked for it. Pause, music softens again. But understand this. Winning quietly doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak with purpose. You don't waste words. You don't chase attention. You don't fill silence just to feel heard. When you speak, it matters. Because your words carry weight. Because your actions back them up. Because your presence is felt, not forced. And that's the difference. Anyone can be loud. Few can be meaningful. So when you do speak, let it come from clarity. Let it come from strength. Let it come from truth. Not emotion. Not ego. Not insecurity. Because once you master that, you become respected. Not because you demand it, but because you earn it. Music deepens again, steady and powerful. Respect is not given to those who shout the loudest. It's given to those who are consistent. Those who are disciplined. Those who are focused. Those who don't break under pressure. And silence helps you build that. Because silence trains you. It forces you to listen. To observe. To understand. It teaches you patience. It teaches you control. It teaches you awareness. And those qualities make you unstoppable. Not overnight, but over time. Step by step. Day by day. Quietly becoming stronger. smarter, sharper, more focused. Until one day, you are no longer the same person. You are someone new, someone disciplined, someone controlled, someone powerful. Pause. Music slowly builds toward a peak. And at that point, you don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. Because you've already won. You've won the battle within. And once you win internally, nothing external can stop you. That's the secret most people miss. They try to win outside, without fixing what's inside. They chase success, without building discipline. They want results, without putting in the work. But you chose a different path. You chose silence. You chose depth. You chose discipline. And that path leads to real power. Music softens calm, reflective tone. So keep going. Even when it feels slow. Even when it feels quiet. Even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. Every single day. Every single decision. Every single moment you choose discipline over distraction. You are building something real. Something strong. Something lasting. And when it's ready, it will show. Not loudly, but powerfully. Final pause, soft fade. And when they finally notice, when they finally see what you've become, when they finally realize they underestimated you, you won't need to say a word. You won't need to explain anything. You won't need to prove anything. Because your life will say it all. There is a level most people never reach. Not because it's impossible, but because it requires something rare. Restraint. The ability to hold back when everything inside you wants to react. The ability to stay grounded when emotions try to take control. The ability to remain focused when distractions are everywhere. This level is where real transformation happens. Because once you master restraint, you stop being controlled by the outside world, and you start controlling yourself. Pause. Think about how many times people lose opportunities. Not because they weren't capable, but because they reacted too quickly. They spoke too soon. They acted without thinking. They let emotions decide for them. And in those moments, they gave away their power. But you are learning something different. You are learning to pause, to breathe, to think, to choose your response carefully. Because every response shapes your future. Every decision builds your identity. And every moment of control strengthens your mind. Music deepens slightly. This is where your growth becomes invisible. Because on the outside, it may look like nothing has changed. You're still quiet, still reserved, still focused. But inside, everything is shifting. Your thoughts are sharper. Your emotions are calmer. Your vision is clearer. And that internal change is what creates external results. Slowly, then suddenly. Pause. You don't rush anymore. You don't chase anymore. You don't panic anymore. Because you understand timing. You understand patience. You understand that everything you're building requires consistency. Not noise. Soft emphasis. Consistency, in silence, is unstoppable. Because there's no pressure. No distractions. No need to perform. Just work. Just discipline. Just growth. Day after day. Moment after moment. Decision after decision. Until it becomes who you are. Not something you try to do, but something you naturally become. Music rises, steady and powerful. And when you reach that point, something shifts. You stop seeking motivation. You stop needing reminders. You stop waiting for the right time. Because you've built discipline. And discipline doesn't rely on feelings. It relies on commitment. So even on days when you don't feel like it, You move. Even when it's hard. You continue. Even when nobody notices. You stay consistent. Because you understand. This is bigger than a moment. This is your life. Pause. And the life you're building requires focus. Requires sacrifice. Requires silence. Not everything needs to be shared. Not everything needs to be explained. Some journeys are meant to be walked alone. Not because you have no support, but because your vision is yours. Your growth is yours. Your transformation is personal. Music softens, reflective tone. There will be times when people misunderstand you. They'll think you've changed too much. They'll think you've become distant. They'll wonder why you don't engage the way you used to. And that's okay. Because you're not here to stay the same. You're here to grow. And growth requires separation. Separation from old habits. Old patterns. Old ways of thinking. Even old versions of yourself. Pause. Let them question. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand. Because while they are trying to figure you out, you are becoming someone they won't recognize. Stronger. Wiser. More disciplined. More focused. More in control. Music builds slowly again. And when that transformation is complete, you won't need to explain it. You won't need to justify it. You won't need to announce it. It will be seen. In your actions. In your results. In your presence. Because real change speaks for itself. Pause, deep breath tone in background. So don't rush. Don't force it. Don't seek shortcuts. Stay on the path. Stay in your silence. Stay in your focus. Stay committed to your growth. Because the version of you you're building is not ordinary. It's not average. It's not common. It's rare. And rare things take time. Music fades softer, calm, almost still. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are in the process. And the process is where everything is shaped. Final slow tone. So keep moving. Keep building. Keep evolving. Quietly. Silence, then a faint, slow rhythm returns, calm, controlled, intentional. There is something even deeper. Something most people never realize. Silence is not just about what you don't say. It's about what you refuse to become. You refuse to become reactive. You refuse to become distracted. You refuse to become average. Because every time you choose silence over noise, you are choosing growth over comfort. Pause. Look around you. So many people are trapped. Not by their circumstances, but by their need to be seen. They want recognition before results. They want attention before effort. They want approval before progress. And that keeps them stuck. Because they are performing instead of becoming. But you are no longer performing. You are building. Quietly. Patiently. Deliberately. Music deepens slightly. And here's the truth. The more you build in silence, the stronger your foundation becomes. Because it's not based on opinions. It's not based on validation. It's not based on temporary praise. It's built on discipline. On consistency. On real effort. And that kind of foundation does not break. Pause, steady breath. There will be moments where you feel like stopping. Moments where doubt creeps in. Moments where you question if it's even worth it. Because the path you've chosen is not easy. It's quiet. It's slow. It requires patience most people don't have. But understand this. Doubt is part of the process. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're growing. Soft emphasis. Because growth feels unfamiliar. It feels uncomfortable. It feels uncertain. But that's how you know you're moving forward. Music rises gently. So when doubt comes, don't run from it. Face it. Observe it. Understand it. And then keep moving. Because discipline is not about feeling good. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Pause. This is where you separate yourself again. Because most people stop when it gets uncomfortable. They look for something easier, something quicker, something louder. But you stay. You remain. You push forward. In silence. Music becomes steady, confident. And over time, that persistence turns into identity. You don't just practice discipline. You become disciplined. You don't just try to stay focused. You become focused. You don't just work quietly. You become the kind of person who doesn't need noise to feel powerful. Pause. And that identity is unshakable. Because it's not dependent on external things. It's built from within. Soft, calm tone. This is why you no longer compare yourself. Because comparison is noise. It distracts you. It pulls you away from your path. It makes you question your progress. But when you are silent, when you are focused, you stay in your lane. You trust your process. You understand your journey is different. And that gives you peace. Music softens, almost meditative. Peace is one of the greatest rewards of silence. Not the absence of challenges, but the presence of control. Control over your thoughts. Control over your reactions. Control over your direction. And when you have that, you don't feel lost anymore. You don't feel pressured anymore. You don't feel the need to rush anymore. Because you know, you are exactly where you need to be. Pause, slow inhale sound. And from that place, you operate differently. You move with clarity. You act with intention. You speak with purpose. Every step becomes calculated. Every move becomes meaningful. Every action becomes aligned with the life you are building. Music rises slightly again. And alignment creates momentum. Momentum that doesn't need hype. Momentum that doesn't need validation. Momentum that keeps moving. No matter what. Pause. This is how you win quietly. Not by chance. Not by luck. But by design. Through discipline. Through silence. Through deep thinking. Through consistent action. Soft but firm tone. And once you understand this, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop chasing distractions. You stop wasting energy. Because you see clearly now. You see what matters. And you commit to it. Fully. Music slows, deep, calm. So even when it's quiet, even when it feels like nothing is happening, remember this. Everything is happening. Inside you. Around you. Through you. You are changing. You are growing. You are becoming. Final pause, long still. And one day, without warning, without announcement, without noise, it will all come together. Music fades almost completely. And they will look at you. And they won't understand. Not because it was sudden, but because they were never paying attention.